When people are going through hardship, they often ask the same question again and again. They ask it in sujood, they ask it in tears, they ask it in silence when no one is watching. They say, Ya Allah, when will this end? And sometimes the test does not end when you think it should. Sometimes it continues even after you have prayed, even after you have tried to be patient, even after you feel exhausted. But my brothers and sisters, Allah does not end tests randomly, and Allah does not lift hardship without wisdom. When Allah ends a test, there is a sign and it appears before the relief you are waiting for. Many people miss it because they are only watching the situation. Allah wants you to watch your heart. Let me share this with you carefully. When Allah is about to end a test, many people expect the outside world to change first. They expect the problem to disappear, the doors to open, the people to soften, the pressure to lift. They keep watching their circumstances closely, measuring every small shift, hoping this will be the moment everything finally turns around. But that is not how Allah works. Very often when Allah is preparing to end a test, the situation around you looks exactly the same. The challenge is still there. The uncertainty is still there. The delay is still there. From the outside, nothing seems different at all. If someone were to look at your life, they might say, you are still in the same place. Nothing has changed. Yet something profound is happening where most people are not looking. Something is changing inside your heart. You begin to notice that you are no longer reacting the same way you used to. The same words that once triggered anger now pass with less weight. The same silence that once suffocated you now feels manageable. The same pressure that once made your chest tighten now feels lighter, even though it has not disappeared. This change is subtle, but it is powerful. It shows up in how you breathe. You are no longer constantly holding your breath, waiting for bad news. You are no longer waking up with that immediate sense of dread. You still feel concern, yes, but it no longer controls you. The panic that once lived in your chest begins to loosen its grip. This is not because you stopped caring. It is because Allah is strengthening you from within. Many people misunderstand strength. They think strength means never feeling pain, never feeling fear, never feeling overwhelmed. That is not strength. That is denial. Real strength is feeling the weight of a test and still being able to stand without collapsing inside. When Allah is about to end a test, He does not rush to remove the pain. He removes the panic first. He removes the desperation first. He removes the constant inner noise that tells you, I can't handle this anymore. Why does Allah do this? Because if the situation were to change before your heart changed, you would remain fragile. The next test would break you the same way. The next delay would shake you the same way. Allah does not just want to rescue you from one hardship. He wants to prepare you for life itself. So He stabilizes the heart before He shifts the circumstances. You may notice that you are no longer begging Allah in a frantic way. Your dua becomes calmer. Your tears may still fall, but they no longer come from panic. They come from sincerity. You are no longer demanding an immediate outcome. You are trusting the process even if it still hurts. This inner calm does not mean the test is easy. It means your heart has grown. You begin to accept that some things are out of your control, and instead of fighting that reality, you surrender it to Allah. That surrender is not defeat, it is alignment. It is the heart finally resting where it was always meant to rest. This is why people sometimes say, I don't know why, but I feel okay, even though nothing has changed. That feeling is not random. That is Allah placing sakina into your heart. Sakina is not happiness, it is stability. It is the ability to remain steady even when the ground beneath you feels uncertain. And Allah places sakina only when a heart is ready to carry it. Another sign within this inner change is that you stop replaying the same thoughts over and over again. Earlier in the test, your mind was loud. It kept asking the same questions. Why is this happening? What if it gets worse? How long will this last? These thoughts drained you more than the situation itself. But now those thoughts come less often, and when they do come, they do not stay as long. You notice them, but you are not consumed by them. This is not because you found all the answers. It is because your heart no longer needs them. Allah has taught your heart to trust without seeing the full picture. You may also notice that your reactions toward others begin to soften. You become less defensive, less irritable, less sharp in your responses. Not because people suddenly became kinder, but because your heart is no longer operating from survival mode. When a heart is under constant threat, it lashes out easily. When Allah removes that internal threat, the heart relaxes. And the relaxed heart responds with wisdom instead of impulse. This change is deeply important. It means the test has already done much of its work. It has stripped away arrogance, impatience, and excessive attachment. It has humbled the heart, refined it, and taught it reliance on Allah alone. At this stage, even if the test continues for a while, it no longer feels unbearable. You stop counting the days. You stop watching the clock. You stop measuring your life by when this will finally end. You begin to live again, even inside the hardship. And this is where many people get confused. They think, if I feel calmer, does that mean I'm settling? Does it mean I've given up? No, it means Allah has carried you to a place of inner strength. This calm is not resignation, it is readiness. When your heart becomes calm inside the storm, Allah knows that you are no longer being defined by the test. You are no longer shaped by fear. You are no longer collapsing under pressure. That calm is preparation. Preparation for relief. Preparation for clarity. Preparation for whatever Allah has written next. So if you are in a situation that has not changed, but your heart has, do not underestimate that shift. Do not dismiss it as imagination. Do not ignore it because the problem is still there. That inner change is one of the clearest signs that Allah is working on your behalf. He is not late. He is not unaware. He is preparing you carefully. And when the heart is ready, the situation will follow. At the beginning of a test, most people make dua from a place of urgency and fear. The pain feels overwhelming, the confusion feels unbearable, and the heart is desperate for one thing above all else, for the hardship to end. So the words come quickly and repeatedly. Ya Allah, remove this. Ya Allah, take this away. Ya Allah, I cannot handle this anymore. There is nothing wrong with these du'as. Allah is most merciful. And He knows the weakness of His servants. He knows the heart cries out before it learns how to trust. But there is an important shift that happens when Allah is about to end a test. And it is one of the clearest signs that the heart has matured through hardship. The dua begins to change. You still want relief, but relief is no longer the only thing you are asking for. Something deeper starts to form in your heart. You begin to ask Allah questions that are no longer about escape, but about direction. You say, Ya Allah, guide me through this. Ya Allah, show me how to respond correctly. Ya Allah, don't let this trial distance me from you. This change matters more than people realize. At first, the test feels like an enemy. You want to run from it, you want to push it away, you want it gone at any cost. But when Allah is preparing to end the test, He helps you see it differently. You no longer see the hardship only as pain. You begin to recognize it as a process. You stop asking only for the door to close and you start asking Allah to teach you how to walk while it is still open. This is not because the pain has disappeared. It is because your relationship with Allah has deepened. You are no longer treating dua as an emergency alarm. You are treating it as a conversation with the one who knows you better than you know yourself. Earlier in the test, dua may have felt rushed. You prayed because you were scared of what would happen if things stayed the same. Your heart was tense. Your words were heavy. You were pleading from a place of anxiety. Now, even though the test may still be present, your dua slows down. You speak with more calm. You pause. You reflect. You ask Allah to shape your response, not just your outcome. This is a powerful sign of trust. It shows that your heart is no longer trying to control the timing or the result. Instead, it is placing itself under Allah's wisdom. You accept that Allah sees what you do not. You accept that there may be lessons you have not fully absorbed yet. And rather than resisting that reality, you cooperate with it. You may notice that your dua becomes more honest. You stop pretending to be stronger than you are. You stop using perfect words. You speak plainly. You admit confusion. You admit weakness. You admit that you don't fully understand why this is happening. This honesty is beloved to Allah. Allah does not want rehearsed dua. He wants sincere hearts. And when a servant reaches a point where they can say, Ya Allah, I trust you, even when I don't understand you, that is a sign of deep iman. Another important shift happens here. You stop making deals with Allah. At the height of hardship, some people bargain in their dua. They say, Ya Allah, if you remove this, I will do this. Ya Allah, if you fix this, I promise I will change. But when Allah is about to end a test, that transactional tone fades. You are no longer trying to negotiate your way out. You are seeking closeness, not escape. You say, Ya Allah, help me remain obedient regardless of what you decide. Ya Allah, keep my heart firm. Ya Allah, let me leave this test better than I entered it. This is a sign that the test has already softened your ego. You are no longer placing conditions on your worship. You are no longer tying your faith to outcomes. You worship Allah because He is Allah, not because He has already solved your problem. This level of sincerity does not appear at the beginning of hardship. It is forged inside it. You may also notice that your dua includes others more. Earlier, your pain consumed your attention. Everything revolved around what you were going through. But now, even while you are still tested, your heart opens again. You pray for others. You think of those who are struggling in different ways. You feel empathy instead of bitterness. This expansion of the heart is another sign of growth. Hardship often shrinks a person inward. It makes them self-focused. When Allah is preparing to end a test, He reverses that contraction. He allows the heart to expand again. And with that expansion comes clarity. You begin to realize that the greatest danger was never the situation itself. It was losing your connection to Allah during it. Once that fear disappears, the test loses much of its power over you. You may still ask Allah to remove the hardship, but your peace is no longer dependent on the timing of His answer. You trust that when relief comes, it will come at the right moment. And if it is delayed, it is not cruelty, it is care. This is a difficult level to reach, but it is a beautiful one. It means your heart has moved from resistance to reliance, from panic to patience, from fear to faith, from control to trust. And when a servant reaches this state, Allah does not abandon them. Allah does not ignore such a heart. Allah responds in ways that are always better than what the servant imagined, even if the response does not come immediately. So if you find that your dua is changing, do not overlook it. If you find yourself asking Allah for guidance more than escape, understand that something important is happening within you. The test is doing its work. Your heart is being prepared, and Allah is closer than you think. Sometimes the test ends not when the problem disappears, but when the heart learns how to walk with Allah no matter what remains. And once that lesson settles, relief is never far behind. One of the clearest ways to know whether a test is still in its active phase is to look honestly at what it is doing to your relationship with Allah. Not what you claim outwardly, but what is happening quietly in your daily behavior, your habits, and your reactions when no one is watching. At the beginning of a test, hardship often pushes people towards sin, not because they are bad people, but because pain exposes weakness. When pressure builds, patience thins. When frustration grows, the tongue becomes careless. When hope feels distant, obedience starts to feel heavy. This is why tests can be dangerous if a person is not aware. You may begin neglecting salah, not because you don't believe, but because your heart feels tired. You may delay prayers, rush them, or pray without presence. You may start complaining excessively, speaking with bitterness, or expressing resentment toward people who are not responsible for your pain. Some people even begin questioning Allah's decree in ways that damage their iman. This does not make you evil, it makes you human. But it also tells you something important. The test is still shaping you. When Allah is about to end a test, a noticeable shift takes place. The hardship loses its power to drag you away from obedience. The situation may still be difficult, but it no longer pushes